Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson. We are now on Chapter 13 in Business Marketing. Chapter 13 is all about selling, professional selling. Happens to be one of the classes I'll be teaching in the next 9 weeks. I think it's a BA 121. So our learning objectives, recognize the role professional selling plays in society and in firms' marketing strategies, and identify the different types of sales positions. There are many different types of sales positions for those of you who are not in sales and don't know. So what do salespeople do? They create value for their firm's customers. They manage relationships. They relay customer and marketing information back to their organization. So we'll get into all the facets of each one of those components throughout the lecture. Salespeople responsibilities. The salesperson has a fiduciary responsibility to the company and an ethical responsibility to the buyer. So meaning in regards to the financials, their responsibilities to the company, but they also need to be ethical with the consumer. At times, however, the two responsibilities conflict with one another, as those of you who are in sales know. For example, what should a salesperson do if the product meets only most of the buyer's needs while a competitor's product is a perfect fit? I've seen some people try and slam it in and put that square peg into a circle, and I've also seen other people say, you know what, the competitors is a better fit, and then they've had business circle back to them because they've been honest with the consumer. So creating value, salespeople sell. That's the bulk of the value that they deliver to their employers. They sell, but sales is important because without those sales, then what exactly do you have in terms of a company? Salespeople aren't appropriate channels for companies in all situations. Situations that require adaptation, customer education, and other value-added activities, salespeople can be the best channel to actually reach customers. So there's certain things that they're good for, but certain things that you want to parse that out to other individuals within the organization. Managing relationships, of course, account managers manage relationships, but salespeople also manage continuing relationships. So, for instance, if you sell a product, you may have other products to sell that client, so you continue that as an ongoing relationship. Because their time is limited, sales representatives have to decide which accounts they have the best shot at winning and which are the most lucrative, right? So, go for what you know. This one looks like it's a win. I'm going to go left instead of going right. Salespeople recognize that business is not about making friends, but about making and retaining customers. So you have to get information if you want to do sales. So salespeople are boundary spanners. They operate outside the boundaries of the firm and in the field. So they're within the company, doing the things that they do within the company, and then they're working outside because they're trying to bring in additional customers and/or consumers. Salespeople interact directly with customers, and in so doing, gather a great deal of useful information about their needs. Now, if they can relay that information to the rest of the organization, things will work swimmingly. Types of sales positions. So using activities as a basis, there are 4 basic types of salespeople: missionary salespeople, trade salespeople, prospectors, and account managers. In some discussions, you'll hear that there are 3 types: order getters, order takers, and sales support. You'll hear that in other textbooks. The 4 we describe in this book are all types of order getters, and that is they actively seek to make sales by calling on customers. So order getters are people who are trying to reach out and get orders. Missionary salespeople. A missionary salesperson calls on people who make decisions about products but don't actually buy them. So you're the decision maker, but you pass that responsibility of actually buying them or the procurement of it off to someone else. And while they call on individuals, the relationship is business to business, right? So it's one person talking to another person, but they work for different companies, so it's still business to business. There are salespeople who also work with market influencers as well, like I'll talk about in Chapter 14 about brokers and them influencing their clients to buy whatever you're selling. Trade salespeople, it's one of the supplemental videos is in there about trade salespeople, someone who calls on retailers and helps them display, advertise, and sell products to consumers. Prospectors, a salesperson whose primary function is to find prospects or potential customers. Prospectors often knock on a lot of doors and make a lot of phone calls, which is called cold calling. I've done that before. First job out of college, 100% commission, door-to-door sales, and business-to-business sales, and then also selling copiers. So definitely know how to prospect. Account managers are responsible for ongoing business with a customer who uses the product, right? So they may order one copier, and if they need another copier, then they're going to give you a call. Account manager also have to identify lead users. Account managers work closely with these lead users and build relationships across both the companies, across both their companies, so that the two organizations can innovate together, like a partnership, collaboration. Other types. So order takers and sales support do not actively solicit business, right? So if I'm just like, maybe you're inside sales and you just get incoming calls and you just take the order. Sales support, you just support sales, but you don't solicit business. Order takers include retail sales clerks and salespeople who sell for distributors of products like plumbing supplies or electrical products, who sell to plumbers and electricians because they call in, they have a need for what you have. Sales support work with salespeople to help make a sale and to take care of the customer after the sale, right? Their aftermarket support. Key takeaways, as always, read these. Make sure that you have them down for your quiz. Salespeople act as a representative for other people, including employees who work in other parts of their company. Right? So, you're out there. You're the face of the company when you're selling. So, you basically represent everybody. So do a good job. So be sure to read the rest of the key takeaways, as always. More learning objectives. Understand the types of selling relationships that firms seek. Be able to select the selling strategy needed to achieve the desired customer relationship. So with a huge company, you might have a different selling strategy than you would with a mom and pop company. Customer relationships. Serving one large customer can often be more profitable than serving several smaller customers. If I get this one big deal, then I'll be set for the year. And a guy, when I sold copiers, he told me this. He said, go for all these little deals. He said, but if you get, that big fish on the line and you think that it's going to go through, continue to nurture that. And then when you get that, that's the one that will have you set for the entire year. And that held true. Marketers also want stronger relationships with customers who are innovative, such as lead users. Salespeople are tasked with maintaining relationships with market influencers who are not their customers. So just because they're not your customers does not mean that they're not valuable. Types of sales relationships. You have a transactional relationship. Each sale is a separate exchange, and the two parties have little or no interest in maintaining an ongoing relationship. So this is wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, that's it. Functional relationships are limited, ongoing relationships that develop when a buyer continues to purchase a product from a seller out of habit as long as her needs are met, or his or her needs are met. So, if your needs are met, then they probably won't change. If something happens and needs are not met, then they're going to go somewhere else. Affiliative selling relationships, they are more likely to occur when the buyer needs a significant amount of expertise from the seller and trust in an issue, right? So you want to find somebody you could trust and deal with it like a partnership. Strategic partnership, a buyer and seller commit time and money to expand, quote unquote, the pie for both parties because, I want to win and you want to win. We want to make it a win-win situation. The relationship continuum, so transactional, functional, affiliative, and strategic. So obviously, if you're further down here on this right side, you're working more closely with the client, and transactional, not as much. Selling strategies, you have to have a strategy, right? So you can have a script-based or canned selling. So salespeople memorize and deliver sales pitches verbatim. So they have it, they look at it, they memorize it, they have it, written down on the paper sitting right there. Needs satisfaction selling, asking questions to identify a buyer's problems and needs, and then tailoring a sales pitch to satisfy those needs. So that's like the mass customization. We want to see what you need, then we're going to tailor it exactly to you. Consultative selling, the seller uses special expertise to solve a complex problem in order to create a somewhat customized solution. Strategic partner selling, both parties invest resources and share their expertise with each other to create solutions that jointly grow one another's business because we want to get huge, we want to be successful together. Choosing the right sales strategy, right? So you don't always choose the right sales strategy. I've been wrong in my sales strategy before, it happens, but hopefully you choose the correct one. The sales strategy types and relationship types discussed don't always perfectly match up. Different strategies might be more appropriate at different times. So you can't always necessarily go to your go-to move. And in February, that might not be the right thing to do, but in December, it might be 100% the perfect thing to do. The appropriateness of each method depends on how the buyer wants to buy and what information the buyer needs to make a good decision, right? So what do they need to know before they make that actual decision? Typical sales process, great diagram, probably pause. You should pause it right here and kind of look through that, even though we're going through the next few slides. So you have your approach, your needs identification, your presentation. Here's what we have. Objection handling. Oh, you have some problems here. Let me tell you why that's not really a problem. The close, right? And also in there you could talk about the trial close. And then implement and provide customer service, and that's going to be held and completed by the rest of the company. So pre-approach and planning. A salesperson may use LinkedIn, Google, and/or financial databases such as Standard & Poor or Dun & Bradstreet to find the right person to call and to learn about the person. A salesperson may also search the internal data in order to determine if the potential buyer has a history with the company. Such extensive pre-calling planning doesn't always happen, although a lot can be accomplished through judicious use of web-based resources. In this stage, a salesperson is attempting to convince the buyer to spend time exploring the possibility of a purchase. Now, I will tell you, I used to think a lot of times, and also when I managed a sales group, that, hey, like I say, hey, just take the stack of Dun & Bradstreets and just start calling. And I said, don't worry about the research part. But the research part is, it is beneficial. So I've sort of changed my tune on that because you can get, little nuggets of information that can assist you when you're speaking with them. So you got to, kind of learn new things, take different approaches. Not to say that, my telling the salespeople that worked for me to just pick up the stack and call didn't work. But there are other ways to go about it as well. Needs identification. In complex situations, many questions are asked. These questions will follow the spin outline or something similar. Highly complex situations may require that questions be asked of many people in the buying organization, right? So you may have to deal with a large amount of people. Sometimes it's just a couple people. Sometimes it may be 15. In simpler situations, needs may not vary across customers, so a canned presentation is more likely. Then, instead of identifying needs are simply listed as solutions, and they are described. You have your presentation. You have your PowerPoint or your board that you want to go in there and show them. Shows how the offering satisfies the needs identified earlier, right? So how is my product or service going to identify? How is it going to satisfy your needs? One approach to presenting solutions use statements called FEBAs, stands for feature, evidence, benefit, and agreement. So here's a feature, here's the evidence that it works, here's the benefit to you, and here's how we will come towards an agreement. Objections. Now, sometimes you have a lay-down buyer, and that lay-down buyer just means you're going to go in, hey, you want to buy this bike? And they say, yeah, I needed a bike. Give me the bike. That's just a lay-down buyer. But typically, you're going to, especially in, if there's a large monetary amount attached to the purchase, you're going to field some objections. So concerns or reasons not to buy raised by the prospect and can occur at any time, right? At the beginning of your pitch, at the end of your pitch. Prospect may object in the approach, saying there isn't enough time available for a sales call or nothing is needed right now. Or during the presentation, a buyer may not like a particular feature or something you do may turn them off. You never know. Salespeople should probe to find out if the objection represents a misunderstanding or a hidden need, right? So is it something you truly need, or did you misunderstand what I was saying, or is it truly an objection that I can't overcome? When all the objections are resolved, to the buyer's satisfaction, the salesperson should ask for the sale or close. Like they say, ABC of sales, always be closing. Closing, a request for a decision or commitment from the buyer. There are different types of closes. Some of these include direct requests, like so you're just asking for the sale right then and there, a minor point and a summary. And then with the trying to say, so if I satisfy all these objections that you have, and you've already told me your 4 objections, would you be willing to sign on the dotted line and purchase the copier today? If they say yes, and then I go ahead and knock out those objections, and I say, here we are. I said that if I could show you how we can satisfy all those needs for the objections that you brought up, that you would sign the paperwork. Should we go ahead and proceed? And they say, yeah, we should proceed. Or they could say, maybe let me talk it over with the other manager or something like that. Key takeaways, as always, read these very carefully. Some buyers and sellers are more interested in building strong relationships with one another than others, right? So you have to, some clients are, they're better relationships, just like in life. Some relationships with some people are better than relationships with other people. So you need to nurture those relationships a little bit more than the other relationships that may not be as beneficial. Additional learning objectives. Describe the sales cycle. Understand the selling metrics that salespeople use, right? Dollars, units. Understand the selling metrics that sales managers and executives use. Same metrics, but, they have more salespeople, right? So if you're just not just a salesperson, but if you're a salesperson, you worry about your own units. If you're a sales manager, then you're worrying about your 6 salespeople's units. And if you're an executive, you worry about your 6 sales managers' units. So here's how the sales cycle goes. You have leads, contact information about someone who might be interested in a salesperson's product. Sometimes those leads come through you prospecting. Other times the leads come from a company that they hire to get leads. Suspects, a person or organization that has an interest in an offering, but is too early to tell if they're going to buy anything. Prospects, someone with a budget, authority, need, and time. So that's BAM. Budget, authority, need, and time. You have to have all of those to make a purchase. So if you don't have the budget, what are you talking about? In other words, the person has the money to make the purchase and the authority to do so. The person also needs the type of product that the salesperson is selling and is going to buy such a product soon, right? So if I'm going to buy in 2019, who cares? If I don't have the money, who cares? If I don't have the authority, who cares, right? That's not the right person that you need to be talking to. Customer, the person decided to buy the salesperson's product and become the customer, right? Once you make that purchase, you are the customer, you are the consumer. Metrics used by salespeople. So the key metric that salespeople are evaluated upon is the revenue that they generate, right? So how much money are you bringing into the company? Conversion ratios measure how good a salesperson is at moving customers from one stage of the selling cycle to the next, right? So how quickly can you get them, and can you get them from one stage to the next? Activity goals, number of sales calls each of the type of representative has to be on to make a certain number of sales calls each type of representative has make. I don't think that it's actually listed correctly, that they'll make in a certain period of time. So you have activity goals. Basically, what's that saying is, I'm going to make 50 calls today. These are your activity goals. I'm going to make 10 calls an hour, something like that. Win-loss analysis, and after the battle, a review of how well a salesperson performed given the opportunities she faced, right? So, we're going to look at, did you win this battle that you should have, and did you lose this one that maybe you should have lost, and did you win this one that you actually should have lost? So you're going to look at a win-loss analysis. A bonus is paid at the end of a period time based on the total amount sold, while a commission is typically throughout as a payment for each sale, right? So you get your commission amount, but what if you hit $1 million in sales? Then you get this big bonus, which is great. Activities and conversions, driving sales. You have your activities, you have your conversions, and their cogs all in the big machine of sales. So metrics used by sales managers. So sales managers are interested in the same metrics as a salesperson plus others. So sales managers look at other measures such as market share and how much of the market is buying from the firm versus its competitors, right? So how much are people buying from my company versus our direct competitors? Sales by product or customer type, and sales per salesperson. Time is yet another element that sales managers look at. If you make a sale, but it takes you 3 years, then you're moving too slow, right? Customer satisfaction is another important metric. If you have too many bad things coming from the customer service side, then they're going to have a problem with you as well. That means that you're just great at selling, but they're not going to, you're not going to retain the business, and that also affects the company. Additional key takeaway: sales cycle is a basic unit of measurement indicating how long it takes to close a sale, right? Read the rest of that bullet point. Very beneficial to know for overall, just in business and sales, and for your quiz. Sales executives down at the second bullet track the same metrics as individual salespeople, but at the aggregate level. If many salespeople are struggling with one stage of the sales cycle, for example, then additional training or by marketing may be needed, right? So if everybody is struggling at a certain section, then maybe we all need to work together to figure out how to move out of that section. Additional learning objectives, compare and contrast common ethical challenges facing salespeople and sales managers. And that's always, a lot of times you think it's just the salespeople, but salespeople are just doing certain things because the sales manager told them to. And maybe the sales manager is doing certain things because maybe the executive told them to do it that way. Describe the steps companies take to ensure ethical sales activities. Ethical issue for salespeople. So many of the most common situations you could face as a salesperson involves issues such as a customer asks for information about one of the competitors who happens to be one of your customers. Deciding how much to spend on holiday season gift for your customers. You don't want to cross the line where it's a bribe. A buyer asks for something special, which you could easily provide, but aren't supposed to give away. Deciding to play golf on a nice day since no one knows you're actually at work or not, because you're in the field, right? I can go play golf or I can go make sales. Like I can, it's when I did business to business sales, it was funny because if we have 50 promotions out and they're with us and we sold them 50 things, some people just said, hey, I'm off to happy hour. But other people would say, hey, I'm going to go back to the office, I'm going to get some more, and I'm going to work my territory and sell 50 more promotions. It just depends on, your level of commitment. Company safeguards. So the first step to develop is to develop policies based on the company's mission and value, and to describe what is acceptable and what is not. Right? They need to know and understand what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. A good second step is to train all salespeople and sales managers on the policy, and they need to be trained the same. Right, needs to be consistent. One reason for such training is to secure greater support and application of the policy. Another reason is that a salesperson should they engage in unethical, illegal activity, the company is protected because it said we've trained them, we've shown them what they should do, they just didn't do it as a person. We don't have mind control to make everybody do exactly what we want them to. The company must also enforce the policy and have procedures in place that make enforcement possible. Code of ethics, policies, and procedures affect all employees, right? Whether they be in sales or in operations, and they are not created just because of salespeople. So don't think salespeople are the only people out there that may have an ethical, line that they sometimes cross. It's all throughout the company. Additional key takeaways, salespeople are, for the most part, caring, ethical professionals. They do face unique ethical challenges because of the job. It's part of the job. And when I was in sales, I did face those things as well. Sales managers have the usual management concerns such as fair hiring practices. According to the federal sentencing guidelines, managers also have to develop policies and practices to codify ethical behaviors, train salespeople on ethical policies, and ensure that the policies are followed. Right, and that's just appropriate. That's things that companies should do. Additional learning objectives. Identify the ways in which the marketing function supports the sales function, right? They work together, work hand in hand. Describe how the sales group of a company can support its marketing efforts, right? You do the right thing, you keep it good out there in the marketplace, you can support those efforts. Marketing shortens the sales cycle. Companies' marketing activities include creating advertising and promotional campaigns, participating in trade shows, and preparing collateral. Collateral is printed or digital material salespeople use to support their message. Lead management, the process of identifying and qualifying leads in order to grow the new business, right? So if I have leads, I just throw them over to sales. And currently in my current position in my job, I get leads all the time and I send them over to sales. And they're good, qualified leads that I send over. Closed-loop lead management systems are information systems that are able to track leads all the way from the point in which the marketer identifies them to when they are closed. So I identified them, sent them over to sales, he closed them, maybe I get a reward or something like that, $25 gift certificate, things of that nature. So here's closed-loop management. So probably want to, and I'm going to increase this because I can't, the bottom's very, very light. So probably want to pause this and make sure you get a good, depiction of the diagram. So marketing identifies a lead at a trade show. Then marketing scores the lead, hot, warm, or cold, right? So super hot, right? They want to buy right now. That's what we're going to code it hot. Warm, they're thinking about buying. I think that you could sell them. Cold, they're going to buy in 2018. Sales receives a lead, calls a hot lead immediately, right? Because I'm saying it's hot, then you're going to make sure that you call them. Sales makes the call and closes the actual sale. So they make the call, they close the sale. Sales reports the outcome back to marketing, and then marketing evaluates the trade show and decides to invest again, right? So maybe you decide to invest again, maybe you don't. But I can guarantee you, if I got 50 sales leads from the trade show, I'm going to reinvest and I'm going to go back to that trade show next year, right? Maybe I bring even more people just because I know that's very beneficial to the company. Marketing improves conversion ratios, and that just makes sense. So lead scoring is a process by which marketing personnel rate the leads to indicate whether the lead is hot, ready to buy now, warm, going to buy soon, or cold, interested but no immediate plans to buy. Marketing personnel can also improve salespeople's conversions by providing materials that help buyers make good decisions. So if I give you a great FAQ, frequently asked questions, and you're the salesperson, you take that out in the field and really explains things. And so you try to pitch them, you try and close the sale, but you can't while you're there. You leave, they look at the material, they look at it, maybe they're just that type of person, and they like it. I have assisted you. I threw you the bounce pass and you made the dunk. But I've assisted you in getting that customer sold because now they're looking at the printed material, the collateral that you've left behind. What does sales do for marketing? Salespeople talk to customers every day. They are the eyes and ears of their companies, right? So they get this information, feed it back to marketing. More than anyone else in the organization, they know what the customers want. Salespeople communicate market feedback. They are responsible for voicing their customers' ideas and concerns to other members of the organization. Salespeople monitor the competition, right? So they see what they're doing. Maybe we should do that. Maybe things that they're doing that we shouldn't do. They also track the actions of their competitors, what customers buy, and enter the information into their firm's CRM system or customer or client relationship management system. Additional key takeaways: marketing personnel support the firm's sales force, right? We should all know that by just listening to the lecture or reading through the textbook. Lead management, second bullet, and lead scoring are two ways in which marketing professionals help their firm salespeople. Third bullet: in turn, sales people support marketing personnel by communicating their customers' needs and ideas back to them. So be sure to pause that, read the key takeaways, or look in resources and look those up as well. Last learning objectives: identify the primary types of outsourcing salespeople, characterize the strengths and weaknesses of outsourcing sales groups. So I've dealt with that before. So we had this group that we hired, and they were appointment setters. So they set appointments, and then I just went out there and tried to work the sales magic instead of me trying to set the appointment and then going out there in the field. They were somewhat successful. Some of the leads were qualified, some of them weren't. Some companies, depends on what you're selling, you can do it all better yourself, and some companies it's better because we're going to throw thousands of people at this. They're going to set these appointments. You just go out there and you close the deal, and you're not going to waste time because maybe I'm talking to somebody and I'm selling them better than I should because my sales skills are good, and I get them to let me drop in and pay a visit, but they really aren't ready to buy. Types of outsourced salespeople. So the different types of outsourced salespeople, companies can outsource all or a part of the sales cycle. So you can outsource everything, right? And just say, hey, I want you to try and just sell my product. Or you could, outsource things, like I said, just, to do the appointments. Independent agents are salespeople who are not employees of the company. They set their own hours. They determine their own activities. They're paid on a straight commission basis. Independent agents often sell competing products. And let me give you an example. If any of you guys have an insurance license, which I do, you can sell for Blue Cross Blue Shield. You can also sell for Humana. You can also sell for Kaiser, right? So you sell for all these different companies because you're an independent agent. Manufacturers or representatives are agents that sell manufacturers' products. They don't sell competing products, right? So when you're a manufacturer's representative, you're only selling, I'm only selling for Huffy, right? I'm just selling their bikes. I'm not going to sell Swin. I'm just selling Huffy. Advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing. There are advantages and disadvantages of everything, right? You should definitely know that. So advantages: gain access to more buyers. Outsourced salespeople have existing relationships with the buyers that can be leveraged. The speed of the market penetration is increased, and outsourcing can be less expensive, and that's typically the reason why people do it. Disadvantages: the primary disadvantage of outsourcing is that the selling process the selling process is loss of control. And that's all. When you outsource anything, loss of control is the number one primary drawback or disadvantage. So last slide, 50 of 50, key takeaways. So outsourcing the sales function can be done through distributors, independent agents, and manufacturers, representatives, as well as types of sales organizations, right? So be sure to read the rest of that key takeaway. Second bullet, outsourcing the sales function means that the company will lose some control over its sales activities. To counteract that loss of control, companies try to devise attractive compensation schemes as well as effective marketing strategies for the independent sales organizations and people with whom they work. So be sure to read the key takeaways. That's 50 out of 50, chapter 13. Go right on to chapter 14. And then right after that, we have our last two chapters in the textbook to go over. So great job. Please continue to keep up the good work. Take your quiz. Complete your assignment about the supplemental videos. And be sure to take your test as well. So as always, have a good day and a great week.